Good morning, and welcome to Coffee and Conversations.
Good
I
morning,
am Alicia Richardson, broker, owner of AMR Elite Realtors, and I have with me.
Mashana Perry, broker owner for Making Moves Happen Realty, as well as realtor with AMR Elite Realtors. So, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. So, Juanita's not here with us this morning. However, she's okay. She's always here in spirit, right?
Yes.
But we are just glad to be in the place and be able to show our face on this screen and talk to you this morning about a couple of different things. I guess we're gonna have a little conversation. Me and Mashana are gonna just sit back and relax and talk about some things.
Yeah, we're going to tell it all. Today is about behind the scenes of a real estate deal. So if you ever wondered, like, what's my agent doing? Are they working for me or what's going on? You're going to get the real truth about what we do behind the scenes to get your transaction to
Good,
close.
bad, or ugly.
Exactly. And we're going to spill the tea today. So, first of all, Alicia, I want to ask you, can you tell us when you're working with the sellers, what are some of the things that happen behind the scenes that people are not aware of, or maybe share
Mm.
any experiences that you could share with us that may have gone wrong that you were able to pull back in?
So, that question could be answered for hours, but
Yeah.
so of course, as realtors and brokers, we love all of our clients, right? So our sellers sometimes can hold a different spot. Everybody holds a different spot in your heart within the transaction, right? But
Mhm.
what usually happens is a seller come up to you, and the first thing they say is, I was wondering if I sold my house, can I get such and such money? And we always say it depends. Well, it depends on all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And the behind the scenes is us taking a look at the home to see what the condition is, being
Mhm.
brutally honest with you if we feel like, look, this right here, you need to clean this, you need to move this needs to be fixed. They're all different types of situations that are going on in the the background that the buyers don't even see. Okay.
Right.
So, the buyer's agent doesn't even see. Sometimes we have to talk with the mortgage company, the lien holder, to find out what's the true situation on the property. We have to find out how much they owe on it.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that if they're behind, that you're in a situation that you can actually move forward. So we find ourselves playing, and we're not attorneys, okay? We are not attorneys
Mhm.
by any means, and we don't act in that capacity. But sometimes it's almost like we put that hat on to try to figure out how we can even make the transaction work for the seller.
Right.
Behind the scenes, those sellers, if the sellers are willing to do the suggestions, not we can't make anybody do anything, but the suggestions of what needs to be done to have their property show pristine on the market. That's a lot of work too, coordinating different vendors to come in and make repairs.
Mhm.
Sometimes you in there with a hammer and nail yourself. Look,
True.
I didn't help my sellers clean their house. I didn't help my sellers donate, get the donation together, schedule donation pickups. It's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and a lot of people think, it's a glamorous life. We just put the house on the market, we
Mhm.
sit back, we take pictures, and we post videos, and here I am.
Right.
It's not always like that.
That's so true because it's like, we're beautiful young ladies. However, we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. So a lot of
Yes.
people don't realize sometimes on Saturdays we throwing on our sweats and tennis shoes and getting to work. I mean, I've mowed lawns, like you said. I've you help put up some screws, nails, and fix some stuff because
Curtains.
yeah, sometimes the sellers aren't able to hire somebody, so you jump in to try to assist them. So yes, it's a lot of stuff that goes into with a listing, not just throwing the sign in the yard. So stop
Yeah.
thinking that. I know some people say, oh, agents, they just put the sign in the yard and that's all they do. No,
No.
no, no, no. It's a lot
No.
when you're listing a property.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, because the work that's gone in ahead of time, to even get to the point to put the sign in the yard is what nobody sees, because there is
Mhm.
work. Sometimes it could take months to years sometimes to even get the property or get it to the point that you can put it on the market. And nobody
Right.
sees that, nobody sees that. And even sellers of other properties don't see what you put into it. I don't know about you, Mashana, but I'm sure you've heard this. Well, my neighbor's house
All the
sold for
time.
this much, or they just put a sign up. No, they probably did not. They
Right.
probably did not. And that's the thing that you always run into, when the public is talking amongst one another, they never talk about what the agent has done. They always talk about what, is right there on the surface that people can see, but it's a whole bunch of behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
so you asked me about the seller. Let me ask you, can you tell me, when you're working with the buyer, what are some of the challenges you have dealt with and how you overcame those obstacles?
Well, one of the biggest challenges I think is negotiating for repairs when you're doing a resale. And for anybody who doesn't know, a resale is simply a house that is not new construction.
Right.
So that home can be sometimes 5 years old, 10 or 20 years old.
Right.
And when you're trying to negotiate to have that seller repair the items in the house that the buyer strongly feels they want to be repaired, it can be a very brutal process because, of course, the seller feels like, their home is pristine when they put it on the market and everything is gravy until their home inspection comes in and uncovers
Oh
all
my.
these different things. And
Yeah.
now the seller is forced to pay for these repairs. Now, in North Carolina, we have what we call due diligence period. So this means the buyer puts up most of the time a certain dollar amount to have a certain period of time to do their inspections. We call it their due diligence. Do your due diligence to research this house to make sure that you want to move forward. Now, if the buyer decides they don't want to move forward because of the repair issues, they still stand a chance to lose their due diligence money. And sometimes it could be $1,000, $2,000, right? So
Right.
the buyer is going to want the agent to try to get those repairs done. So behind the scenes, I'm in constant communication with the listing agent. I'm also researching the prices of the repairs to see how much I can actually negotiate. Does the seller need to give maybe more of a concession to accommodate for the fact that he's not willing to do the repairs? Are these repairs of a hazardous issue to the buyer if they move into the home? So all of these things that I also am educating myself on while I'm in the negotiation of the repairs, because just like you said, no, we're not attorneys, but I have to go back like a bulldog, right? And be able to stand my ground on
Right.
what I want to get from my buyer, how much it's worth, and the value attached to it, so that when I'm negotiating, I can basically combat every objection that listing agent does. Because remember, the listing agent is working for the seller, so they
Right.
don't want their seller to have to pay for these repairs. So I have to prove my case to make sure that I can get my buyer what they need to move forward. So that's some things that the buyers and just consumers are not aware of, that behind the
Right.
scenes sometimes, we can be negotiating for days until we finally come to an agreement. And then we call and say, hey, guess what? I got what you wanted. I got it done. But
Right.
they don't realize that behind the scenes, you've been back and forth on the phone, researching for
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
hours on end.
And see, and that goes back to preparing the sellers behind the scenes. When you're trying to prepare that house for the market, we're always telling the sellers what we feel like needs to be taken care of before. But the thing to always remember, I always say this: a home inspector's job is to find something wrong. Something.
Mm-hmm.
That's just their job. They are there to go through that house with the fine tooth comb
Yep.
and find something. Now, everything's not major, but some things are. And
Yeah.
so the other thing too is letting your seller understand that whole as is statement. Okay.
That's a
So an
good one.
as is sale, and I tell my sellers and my buyers, as is not always as is.
Right.
In the seller's eyes, as is what they see is what they get. And a buyer, that's their thought process too. But what happens is when the bank comes in and says, hey, and the bank is represented by the appraiser. If the appraiser
Mm-hmm.
comes in and has some conditions that says this, and this needs to be fixed, or we're not financing it, now as is out the window because
Right.
the seller is supposed to make those repairs. And if the seller doesn't make those repairs, then the buyer cannot buy the house because the bank is
Right.
not going to give the money. And so I get everyone wants to do an as is sale, but I always explain that as is not always as is. So those are the reasons why when you are talking with a realtor, you're talking with a broker, you're talking with a real estate agent, a real estate salesman, whatever you want to call us, right? When you're talking with us and we're saying you need to fix this, and this, don't get upset. We're telling you because we know that's probably some type of safety hazard or an issue that we've seen in the past that a bank will not move forward with. And those are the
Mm-hmm.
things that I kind of try to look for, personally myself, when I'm looking at properties. I look at all of those things first. And then from there, everything else is cosmetic in a sense. But those safety issues or different things that an appraiser is going to say, nah, like that deck is loose, some loose boards on the deck get you every time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time. That deck can look gorgeous. But you see them out there shaking it, and it's like, oh, this one got to be changed. And you're like, what are they doing on my deck?
Yeah.
It's
And
safety, yeah.
we're trying to save our sellers from stuff that will come up later on. And so sellers, you got to listen to your agents and make those needed repairs and things like that. So
Yeah.
Alicia, let me ask you, what are some of the things that the general public may be unaware of that we do as agents behind the scenes to make sure that those transactions go to closing? Because we know everybody now think I can do it myself. It's DIY. I can find my house and on my own and stuff like that. So tell us.
So yeah, those whole DIY things, they become an issue. Okay. So behind the scenes, so let's go back to the deck. Okay, let's go back to the deck. So you know how sometimes you can go to a house and you can see the discoloration in the boards, like
Mm-hmm.
these boards are all burgundy, then there's one brand new board in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes that's an issue. The reason why is because they want to know, did you do it yourself? Or did you have a licensed person come in here
Mm-hmm.
and replace that board?
There it
Well, behind
is.
the scenes, if the seller tells us, oh, yeah, I replaced that board. Well, behind the scenes, we're trying to figure out how to get past that. How that's not going to be an issue if it presents itself. Because more than likely, it's going to present itself, especially if there's a little teeny gap because it didn't fit completely. All of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff is an issue, and nobody realizes that. So it's
Yeah.
always the misconceptions of, I can do it myself and all. No, there are a lot of things that need permits. Even with those things you've done yourself, you still need, they should not look like you've done it yourself if you're putting your house on the market. Because
Right.
I always tell my sellers as well, put a buyer hat on. If you were looking for a house to buy, would you come in here and be okay with this job that you did? Well, no,
Mm-hmm.
not really. Okay, then if you already saying no, or you just standing there not saying nothing, thinking about it, you already know that it's a problem for you. If you were to buy this house, then you need to fix it because the buyer is going to have the same viewpoint that you have.
Right.
But there's also times, just to get to the closing table. Agents make sacrifices that people don't realize
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. I'm not going to put it out there because I can see every agent like, no, you didn't tell them. But there are sacrifices that we have to make sometimes to make transactions work. And I'm
Right.
just hoping that our clients pay attention to that, are aware of that. Because there's some agents that don't make the sacrifice, there's some that do.
Mm-hmm.
Our overall goal, yes, this might be our income. This might be how we feed our family, but still, when we signed up for this job, our overall goal is to make sure that our clients, our sellers, and our buyers reach their goal of getting to the closing table and selling their property or purchasing their dream home. So
Yes.
once we put that on our shoulders, we get rid of everything else. We just know, okay, I'm working with Mashana. She loves this house and she wants this house. then it's by any means necessary. I'm gonna make sure, or I'm gonna try to make her get this house. Although within legal, it's all
Right.
legal,
Yeah.
nothing
Right.
illegal.
All legal. Yeah, because I mean,
All
I've
legal.
lowered my commission before to help.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
buyers out and things like that. And I always will say this, if somebody is working a job and you have agreed upon a certain salary, and in order for you to get your work assignment completed, would you say, hey, I'm willing to take a pay cut for
Nope,
this assignment? Most people would not.
they
But
wouldn't,
that is what we do, right? And most people would not. But
and I've
that is
done it.
what we do as agents, because if buyers come and they say, "Oh, I don't have enough money for closing," or things like that, and we make these adjustments that greatly impact ourselves for the greater good of making sure that you're able to move into your home,
Yep.
that is a sacrifice. And
And
so,
I wasn't gonna say it because I said most realtors would be like, no, don't say that because then everybody
yeah,
gonna expect it. It can't
yeah,
happen in every
no,
situation.
no,
But
it
it does
cannot.
happen. You
Mm.
just don't realize. I saw an article just yesterday that they said Department of Justice is, I guess, talking with the National Association of Realtors because they feel like real estate agents make too much money.
No,
They don't understand.
yeah, and what I think is crazy about that, the average agent, if you look at the statistics, is making like maybe 40, 50,000 a year because they're not having consistent transactions. In order to live in today's society, you really need to be making six figures or more. And
Or,
so I think that people don't realize that if you made 10,000 on one deal, you might not have another deal for 4 or 5 months in a
and that's
lot
what
of
I was about to say.
cases.
And
So
monthly
it's
payments for bills
yeah,
is every month. But here we are 4 months without anything. Those are
right.
also sacrifices that we are making when we discount our commission to make
Mhm.
sure you have what you want or what you need. People don't realize the behind the scenes. Behind the scenes is a completely different thing. My
Right.
husband, he catches it all. I'm home crying.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's tough, right?
It
It can be
is.
tough.
But it's still a fun business to be in.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that behind the scenes is something. So, Mashana, how about this one? What are some of the misconceptions with people looking to buy or sell without using a realtor, with doing for sale by
Uh,
owners and doing it on their own?
Okay, so there's so many things I want to say about this topic. Because first of all, what I want to say is get off of Zillow, people, because here's the thing. People will go on the internet looking for houses, and that's great if you just, want to see what's out there. The reality of it is those websites like Zillow, homes.com, realtor.com, they have great information for you to see, but keep in mind they are not timely. So that information is usually outdated sometimes by 30 days. So if you're looking for a property and you like this one is for sale, I love this one, it might have already been sold
Yeah.
when you viewed it. What the agent gives you is in real time through our MLS data, which is only available to those who are MLS members. Okay. So your agent, when you connect with them and hire them, they're going to be sending you that information in real time. It makes a huge difference. So if you're trying to do it on your own and find something, even with rentals, sometimes you can get scammed with rentals, doing things online. If the properties aren't valid, we're giving you legitimate information from what we
Right.
have. So that's number one. If you want to just go in there to just look at some stuff because it looks nice and you want to have an idea, that's cool. But not when you're serious about really trying to buy your property. You need an
Right.
agent. For the for sale by owner people, now, if you know nothing about real estate and you put a sign in your yard, keep in mind that it's not just you putting the sign in your yard. You also have to be able to negotiate with people to buy your house. You have to be able to negotiate with the vendors, such as the home inspectors, the lenders. all of those things. You have to know when the buyer comes to you, like what type of financing they have, what's going to work for your home. FHA financing might not work for every home. You have to be educated in the industry of real estate to still be a for sale by owner, or you're doing yourself a huge disservice. You're probably leaving a lot of money on the table that you could have got had you used the agent. So doing it by yourself is not always the best option, not in
It's,
this scenario.
and it's
And
not
I
safe.
no,
It's
it's
not
not
safe
safe.
these days. It's not safe.
Mm,
You don't know. We have a showing system. So when we
yes.
put it into MLS, we're aware of who's coming in and who's coming out of your home, and they're coming
Hmm.
in with the realtor. So
Yep.
it's a different standard. It's a different insurance for you. For sale by owner, I've seen for sale by owners, people knocking on the door. Yes, it's a phone number there, but
Just pick up
sometimes they
the
don't call
phone.
that phone number first. They're just gonna knock and say, "Oh, I really want to see your house. Do you know them?" You
Hmm.
know, it's a danger to that. Then the other thing is, like, we're not attorneys, we are aware of what a real estate contract looks like, should have, needs, and all those things. You're not. You don't know what a real
Right.
estate contract looks like. They could put all types of stuff in there that when you get to a certain point in this transaction, and they're saying, so for example, the financing addendum. So we have the FHA, conventional, and USDA. We have the different financing addendums. Well, there's a line in that financing addendum that says that you are obligated, that the seller will be obligated to make up to, let's say, $1,000 in repairs. You can put any money, any amount there, but $1,000 in repairs of lender required repairs, right? So here we are. We're going through the transaction. You done signed this paper if they put it in there, because they probably have it written on something else that you don't even see it. But they put in there this thing. Well, here the appraisal's done, and the appraisal comes back and says you have to replace all the toilets because they're all loose or cracked.
Hmm.
Well, let's say you got to replace the toilets, but it ends up that you have to replace the flooring, the gaskets, and maybe a pipe or something like that, and it costs $950. And you're like, I'm not paying that much. But here comes this piece of paper that you signed
That
because
you
you're
said.
selling it by yourself and you had nobody else to translate this paper that says you agreed to do up to $1,000 worth of repairs. Guess what? You fixing all of it for $950. And
Right.
that's the
Right.
thing that they don't realize. For sale by owner, it sounds good, looks
Yeah.
good to you. You want to have that dependence to make your own decisions, but sometimes it's not a good move.
No, and they don't realize that. And another thing I wanted to say to that too, like you said, that people are just coming. We also use a system here where we can actually see the person's criminal history. So
Oh,
when we have buyers and things that we're working with, those people are vetted. We have
right.
relationship with the lenders and we have a relationship with the listing agents. So the listing agent who sells the house, because we're all in one big network through the MLS, we're
Right.
communicating them with the buyer. So that buyer is vetted, pre-approved. We have relationship and communication with the lender. We also have a way to check that person's background. They're not just people that are just coming to see your home.
Yeah.
We know who the person is. So that is a huge safety feature that an agent brings to the table that a for sale by owner just will not be able to do because you don't have those resources. And
Right.
one great point I always say to people, if I was in a situation where I was up on a charge for murder and I was going to court or something like that, would I want to represent myself on something serious like that? No, I
Not at
would not.
all.
I would hire an attorney, a professional. So the
Yeah.
point is that if you're not the professional in the industry, why would you want to? Most of the time, it's your greatest asset. Put that up for grabs and try to represent yourself when you really don't know the ins and outs of what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that I don't know. You cannot say that enough to people with that whole thing, that for sale by owner. Every time I see a for sale by owner sign, I just go, ugh. Like,
Yeah.
it's just scary. It's so open ended. You just don't know what you're setting yourself up for sometimes. And
Yeah.
even an ex realtor. Okay, even an ex-realtor doing a for sale by owner can pose a problem. Things change daily,
Mm-hmm.
monthly. The different
Yeah.
guidelines. If you were a real estate agent in 1970, you are not, you don't know everything that's changed in 2025. So it's like you have to be mindful of making those decisions. Same thing with walking into a new construction. I
Mm-hmm.
just had to put it out there.
Oh wow, yeah.
Going into a new
You need
home
to
because
shut
that
your mouth real
builder
right.
work,
Oh, that's
they
a big
work
one.
for the builder. They don't work for you. They
Yep.
do not work for you. You know,
And,
I
and
remember
so
there was
think
a,
about it. Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Think about it. So what does that mean, people? If they don't work for you, they're not representing you. You on
right,
your own.
right. There was a neighborhood here. I won't say any names. New construction. People went in, put large deposits down and everything. It was a year later. The houses, the ground still wasn't broken. What could they do? Because they went through the builder. They had nobody to advocate for them. Nobody. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow, that's just crazy to me. A year
Yeah.
later, no wood, no dirt, nothing pushed nowhere. So they weren't even trying. I don't even know if those people got their money back or they got the house. I don't know what happened with that whole situation. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
that's what
crazy.
happens because you sign with them and you have nobody to advocate for you because me and Mashana, or Mashana and I, as your representation, would have been calling every 2 months. Hey, what's going on? Riding by. What? Why there's no wood? What's happening? Where's the house?
And it makes such a big difference because I don't think people realize that even though we are not attorneys, we are connected to attorneys.
Absolutely.
So if there is a legal issue where we have to take it to the next level to call the real
They're able to
estate
do it.
commission or call the legal affairs or any of our attorneys or things like that, if we have to escalate it, that is what we will do on your behalf as advocates. So that makes a
Absolutely.
huge difference from you just being out here on your own trying to figure things out. Because trust me, those builders are going to have way more attorney power and money to fight you when you're by yourself if you have no one that's in your corner that really understands the process and the legalities and the real estate law that you need to defend yourself.
And they're fighting you with your money because you put
Yeah,
the deposit down and can't get it back. So they're using
absolutely.
your money to fight you. It's really, it's we can't stress enough, that we're not just out here just talking and just saying, hey, I want to sell your house, or hey, I want to help you buy a house. We are here for a reason. We went through education. We go through education every year. Like we
Mm-hmm.
have required courses that we have to take every year. And when there's something that changes, we are well versed on what the changes are. We have to be because this is
Yeah.
our business. So just like, on a regular 9 to 5, sometimes you have all these different classes you have to take during the course of your job. What is it? Safety. Sometimes you have to take CPR, or what do they call the courses? It's continued education for us, but they call it something else when you're doing it, for your job sometimes. But we have to do the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, if not more. I
Yeah.
think we have to do more.
Absolutely. And in North Carolina, I'm also an instructor and education director. So I have to be well versed on everything because I'm teaching other agents and
Right.
potential agents on these laws and legalities as well. So, it's like it comes second nature to us. It's just something that's in our blood that we're bred to do and learn and grow, and we're always constantly learning new things. There's no way that as a consumer that's not in the heat and thick of this industry that you will be able to stay on top of everything that changes in this industry, the forms, the
Yeah.
legalities. There's just no way. Just like if I went to your job, I probably would be lost and not know,
Right. Right.
when to start, how to do it, or what happens on the back end. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So behind the scenes in a real estate deal, it's serious. It's we're not just sitting around twiddling our thumbs and reading pieces of paper. We're working. We're working. I mean,
Hard.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes, yeah, cleaning, building,
Hmm. And
organizing, just
yeah,
a
and
little
what
bit
I
of
think,
everything.
yeah, a little bit of everything. And what I think you have to look at it like when we put homes on the market, sometimes that home might sit for a few months. all of the stuff that we're happening behind the scenes, we haven't received a dime. Most of the time, right? Unless you did a retainer fee or something, but we haven't received a dime. So you could be waiting 3 months while you're working for free and really hoping and praying that this thing gets to closing as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So let's spit out the misconception that, oh, agents make too much or they make this. No, 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 no. Once you see what all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes, you will really understand why the payout is what it is
Yeah.
and how it equates over a long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
So
that was some good info, right?
yeah. So if you are interested in being a real estate agent, hopefully we didn't deter that thing, but it's a great business because where do you get to help somebody achieve what they're achieving? Because the biggest investment that you're going to make is your home.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yeah.
car is not really an investment. Your home is an investment. And so to help somebody be able to achieve that, everybody's dream, back in the day, it used to be the little house with a white picket fence. So now, some people's dreams have changed.
Right,
but
right.
but that's what we're here for. And we just want to let you know that we are advocating. We're fighting for you. If you say, hey, I want it, and we've lined up everything with the lender and we know that you're in a position that you can have it, then hey, it's all straightforward from there. With the seller, you
Mm-hmm.
want to sell this property because you need to sell it, you need to make a certain amount. If the numbers jive, the numbers work once we run it, hey, we're straightforward, we're just going to get it done. But that's the job we're in. I love it. I love real estate. Been doing it over 20 some years. Oh
Mm-hmm.
wow. Oh wow.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, and yeah, not to deter anybody because we both love it. Like it's in us, it's in our blood. I couldn't imagine doing something different because I've done it for so long as well. And it's
Yeah.
just that what you have to know is yes, it does take hard work, dedication. It does take for you to be educated and well versed on what's happening. It also takes for you to be compassionate about your clients. It takes all of that. But once you mix all of that in, it's like it's a wonderful opportunity to really help people achieve something so great as home ownership and really helping them build that generational wealth.
Yeah, yeah. So for anyone out there that's looking to sell or buy their home, consultations are free. It does
Yeah.
not, you don't charge you to talk to us to figure out where you are in the process or how to start the process. It's always free. Well, with
Yeah.
us anyway. I don't know
It's
about
free.
anybody else. But
Right. And
it's
I say,
free
look,
information, right? So,
information come messed up, tore
yep,
up, broke up, credit jacked up.
yep.
Come, because the consultation is going to put you on the right path. Whether we need to connect you with the credit specialist or maybe give you some pointers or where you need to get everything situated, but that's what the consultation is for.
And yeah, and we have all the vendors that we need. We have partnerships with credit repair, with lenders, with home inspectors, home warranty company, you just name it. Anything in the housing industry, we have those partnerships and we develop those partnerships so that we can assist you with whatever you need. But
Mm-hmm.
so want a free consultation, just go to www.amrelite.com. You can click around in there and find who you want to talk to, or just call the office at 301-645-HOME, which is 4663. And we're ready to service you whenever you're ready to be serviced. Okay? What we
Absolutely.
are here are
Reliable realtors.
providing exceptional service. No need to go far. Come on down to AMR.
AMR. Thanks for watching.